step into the day with the dawn ringing in my ears. Oh, well, I tune into my TV show. No better way, I gotta get myself into gear. Let's go. Oh, and I feel good today with my wake up in the morning espresso. I feel good today. It's my feel good breakfast show.
Welcome back, you beautiful souls. This is a brand new week and your midday broadcast of Expresso. And as we are in the midst of the 16 days of activism for no violence against women and children campaign, we are being joined today by some remarkable women who are doing outstanding work to empower and give voices to those who are silenced. And first up, that's I would say an old friend who certainly fits that bill. One woman whose story of abuse is well known is former Morning Live anchor Tracy Going. And while it's been now 20 years since she won the very public civil trial against her former abusive boyfriend, the effects of this time of her life must still be traumatizing to her, and that's why she spends her life giving a voice to those in abusive situations through her organization When Love Hurts, and why she is an ambassador for the People Opposing Women Abuse #EndDomesticSilence campaign. We're so honored to have Tracy joining us after that lengthy intro.
Wow, great.
It's very difficult to broach this with you because you have such a glittering career, but that's not the focus.
Well, we've certainly known each other for a very long time.
We have. We've walked a parallel path in the industry, and very proudly so. So I feel very blessed to have walked alongside colleagues like you, but I've got to ask you, because every time I speak to you, and especially in the last kind of 20 years, it's generally over this time, it's generally around this topic, it's generally trying to find answers in a landscape that seems to be devoid of what the right way forward is, yet you plow on, you fight the fight that you do. In your book, and I know through the many chats that we've had, you talk about taking ownership of your journey. How do you get to a point where you can process what's happened to you and actually take ownership of that? Is it possible?
Well, I think trauma fundamentally changes all of us. So, you know, coming from a home of domestic violence and then ending up being beaten up, I mean, fundamentally changed who I was. And I've done a lot of, sort of looking inward over the years, trying to get a lot of understanding. I wrote a book about it, and that was a huge part also of trying to process what happened and then put it in the past. So as I sit here today, I am very empowered as a woman. I don't feel that I'm a victim. There was a time where I was a victim, but that was a very long time ago. So I feel completely empowered, and I feel that I can now give back to others.
The fear for me is that you can be empowered and yet you are still at risk of falling victim again, because this is the situation in this country.
Yes, don't think it's only helpless women that become victims. Very often the challenge is on when it comes to powerful women. We often hear about powerful women, businesswomen, successful women, financially empowered women, and they're being abused, physically abused or emotionally abused in the home. I know this is the 16 days of activism. We talk about violence against women, we talk about gender-based violence, we talk about children, we talk about the elderly, but there are a lot of men as well who've come from those homes, and then again, of course, the victim becomes the perpetrator. So this is really an issue for all of us.
And I know you are very clear about that as a mother of boys, and we're not bashing men.
No.
And for me to be able to understand this and understand the conversation that I need to be having with my son and the world that I want him to grow up into and influence, we've got to understand that that's not what we are talking about here.
Because I heard a story this weekend, and it really upset me, was about a woman being hit in the home, and then he turned to the children and he said, well, your mother was naughty. So it's that kind of, and when you grow up as a child watching that, so, that changes the way you think about things. And often children identify with the aggressor, with the one who has the power, and that is the abuser. So that's why we see the cycle perpetuating itself all the time.
Give me hope. Is the situation changing? Maybe a good place to start would be with those victims who are like you, finding themselves being empowered by talking about it. Is there an improvement?
No.
Are we seeing something?
No, I can't say there's an improvement. Did you read the news this morning? A man setting his house on fire with his wife and children in it. The stories are endless. Graham, I know it's been a bad year. I know it's been lockdown. People are stressed. People have lost their jobs. You know, there's an enormous thing. I don't think men necessarily are equipped to deal with the emotional side of who they are, you know. So I think for me, we need to redefine, we talk about patriarchy, and when you talk about patriarchy, men immediately feel uncomfortable because they feel as though they're being attacked. But I think we need to redefine masculinity. I think men must understand they don't need to be in control. They don't need to be the aggressor. You know, that's changed. The world has changed. We don't need that. We're equals. We all think we can all contribute, and I think we need to look at what we think men should be.
And I think often where that battle line is drawn is because the situation in South Africa is seeing women-led households because of the necessity, the socio-economic push. So this further intensifies the poverty, the food insecurity, all of these things further heighten that desperation, as you say.
And if you don't have financial power, you can't make the decisions.
Talk me through the various projects that you have running through When Love Hurts, because that for me is the answer. That is driving campaigns that change the narrative.
We've just had a fabulous event where we actually really launched the company as well. I want to keep domestic violence on the agenda because I feel that that's where it all starts, behind closed doors, where you're alone with a perpetrator. So that is my mission. But I've also been very involved with this campaign that has just been launched now. You know, Joker POWA have, you know, this whole big thing about add your voice. So we want people to go onto the POWA website, have a look at the campaign Add Your Voice, because we need to expedite laws that are currently coming before Parliament. We want things to change, and it takes a very long time for things to change. So we're saying Add Your Voice, and these messages are going to be collated and sent to President Ramaphosa. So that's what we're doing now.
Is that the answer? Have you, in all of the discussions that you've had, because I think this is probably twofold, where we need to be showing support and we need communities to identify with victims of abuse so that they can truly understand the devastation after an event like that. But we also need to be proactive. In what way? Does it stem from us talking to our sons? Does it stem from us acting? Do we need to develop more projects that are addressing communities' poverty? What is the answer? You're probably better placed than most to
Well, I think
that.
like with this campaign, you know, I say to you, sort of add your voice. You think, oh, what is that really going to do? It's enormously powerful because so many of us feel disempowered. So the fact that I can add my voice, that somebody is going to listen, even if they don't, I was just given an opportunity to say something. That is empowering. And then that creates awareness as well. And then people think, oh, well, actually, this is not okay. I can talk about it. I don't need to be silent about it anymore. And I think that's why it's #EndDomesticSilence. Because the silence and the shame keep us quiet and keep us where we are. So it is enormously powerful to add your voice, even as simple as recording a 30-second message.
I mean, we've all seen the case studies that have been done here in South Africa where you play loud music, next door people will phone the police and complain. You play the sounds of a woman being hurt and no one says a word. And that's the mindset that we have in South Africa. Unfortunately, maybe we've become desensitized. Let's talk specifically about domestic violence. There must have been a moment where you were able to rise above that through whatever miracle gave you the strength to be able to do that. What do you say to a woman who is in that cycle right now?
Nobody knows any better than that particular woman as to how dangerous the situation is. So a lot of women feel it is more dangerous to leave. It is safer to stay. So we've got that. We've got other women who feel they want to be with him. He's the father of her children. They just want him to stop beating her. So there are all sorts of different situations. So it's not a cut and dried answer for any particular situation. But I think if you feel that you're unsafe, there are organizations like POWA. And with the money that has been put behind this campaign has enabled POWA to actually provide more shelters and to provide more counseling, not just for people who need it, but also the people who are doing the counseling. So there are organizations like POWA that you can go to that will help you get away from an unsafe situation. Because that's the most important thing. If you feel unsafe, you need to leave. That's the first step. Absolutely adore you. Thank you so much for continuing to do what you do every day. Really do appreciate you coming onto our platform as well. So good to see you again. And I suppose the most important voice message that we want to resonate is for you to add your voice to POWA's #EndDomesticSilence.
initiative and be a part of making a real change to the scourge of gender-based violence. When we come back, we'll be learning more about the Female Empowerment Initiative, hashtag Give Her a Crown. I love the sound of that and the exciting work that they are doing for 16 days of activism.